Hello, good evening, everybody, and welcome to episode 86 of the Below the Yellow Line podcast. I'm your host, Joe Lanny Pavlon. Danny is back. I have Justin here. Danny, how's it going?
Good. I'm going good.
So I completely forgot to ask you in the podcast last week. What's in your vlog?
What is in my vlog? So, I went to Impressive Auto Body. It is a detailing shop and auto body shop in Oceanside here in New York. I went there for their turkey drive slash cars and coffee. I saw some really cool cars, met some cool people, and I also got a chance to ride shotgun in a Lamborghini with 1400 horsepower to the wheels. That acceleration truly and utterly caught me off guard. Like, I was not expecting it to come on with that much power. So probably the wildest ride I've ever had in my life. And I hope to have that ride again in the near future once this trying times pass. But yeah, man, that was an awesome moment. I won't forget.
The reaction. Do you go that the acceleration in that Lamborghini? It was just
It's just absolutely priceless. Okay. Like, if you guys want to see it, go to my channel, Danny Aguirre 48 on YouTube to check it out and check it out for yourself. But best believe me, more vlogs like that will be coming in the near future for next year. So back
all
to you,
right.
brother.
Thank you very much, Danny. I wanted to point that out yesterday in the podcast. I mean, it just seems like I've forgotten you were in here very briefly, but that was awesome to go. It looked like a carnival ride.
Yeah,
Something
it
like
really
you were in a
did.
spaceship.
Yeah, it really did look like I was in a carnival ride. But yeah, man, I hope to have a Lamborghini one day. Well, I will work hard to own a Lamborghini one day and then upgraded it to that much power. So
All right,
only time will
let's move
tell.
on.
Go
We
ahead.
got a few motorsports to cover this past weekend, including the 67th running of the Macau Grand Prix, which is a yearly classic. Looked a little different than your typical Macau Grand Prix in terms of entry lists and um, the typical events that happen in the Macau weekend, but nonetheless, it was just a beautiful sight to see the weekend happen at all.
Yeah.
MotoGP closed off their 2020 season in Portimao, Portugal, and let's just say both events had one thing in common: a hometown winner won the race. But let's start with Macau. Of course, the 2020 edition of the Grand Prix had Chinese Formula 4 drivers, the majority of the race. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, the Macau Grand Prix was part of the 2020 Chinese Formula 4 Championship. It's usually a non-championship race in the FIA Formula 3,
Yeah.
but the main event was an interesting one. In the weekend recap, just everything that happened. Feels like we're getting a little closer to the end of 2020.
Yeah.
So we'll start off with the main event. The main event that took place on Sunday. Hon Chio. What's his name? I got his name wrong. Oh, yes, Hon Chio Leong, also known as Charles Leong, won the Macau Grand Prix. The Macanese driver becomes only the third driver from Macau to win the main event. The first race ever in Macau history, 1954, won by a Macanese driver in Eduardo de Carvalho. And 20 years ago, the second time, Andre Couto won in 2000. 20 years later,
Yeah.
we had a Macanese top 2 on the podium.
Yeah.
Andy Cheng second, and third on the podium is a Chinese driver, Si Cheng Lei. So the Smart Life Racing Team driver won the race. Fourth place was Lo Quan Kit. Hong Ji finished 5th. Feng Kang 6th. He Chen 7th. Sheng Zhang Li 8th. Juan Ji 9th. And Wei Xiao Yin round out the top 10. There were 15 cars that finished the race. 2 cars were not classified at the end of the race.
Yeah. Yeah.
What makes Macau, Justin, such an interesting circuit in the world?
The thing about Macau, people say Monaco is interesting. The thing about this track, Macau is so interesting because at the end of the track, you're like, oh, the corners are wide. Some parts of the track, after a couple turns, you get into the lap, in the middle of the lap, you got tight sections, tight hairpins. Some walls are really close. You could barely go too wide. It is a tight circuit, and it's really a difficult track to master.
It's a mental challenge.
Yeah.
It really is. And I see from the past few races, it's also very dangerous.
Absolutely.
So that as well. So Macau, in my opinion, I think is great because of the technical corners that it has, and pretty much you could go all out on the front straightaways, but on some corners you could really lose it, and that's where you really do need to be careful with it.
Right. And we've seen world champions win the Macau Grand Prix, which is obviously something that is never an unusual sight to see. And whether that being the typical main event with all the Formula 3 drivers that are in the driver academy programs, in Formula 1 that raced in the F3 championship this year, or maybe might race in F2, or you can see them in IndyCar in the future, like 2-time Indy 500 winner Takuma Sato. But if you run Macau and you win the Macau Grand Prix, you pass a test. You pass motorsports' biggest test.
Yeah, it's like an example of a driver that's up the ranks is Dan Ticktum. He won 2 Macau Grand Prix in a row, 2017, 2018. He's currently driving for Formula 2 for the Dom's team. Like, you also have Richard Verschoor, last year's winner. He's driving in F3. Like, yeah.
All right. So the main event, we just discussed that. Let's move along into the Macau GT Cup. The Macau GT Cup winners, so the side companion events, usually the FIA World Touring Car Championship, WTCR, would be part of the weekend, or the FIA GT Cup would join the weekend, but unfortunately travel restrictions were one too many, causing them not to race this year. So the Macau GT Cup, which is typically the FIA GT3 event, was won by Yi Horgley for Toro Racing. He drove a Mercedes AMG GT3 Cup, or GT3 Evo, to the win. That race was an 8-lap race, and 8 laps is actually pretty long for Macau.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
3 more events, and yes, unfortunately, the motorcycle race was canceled this year. So we had the Guia race, named after the Guia circuit. Zizi Kiang won the Guia race in the Link 3 TCR category. So they ran FIA WTCR spec, in that
Yeah.
event. In fact, the
Wow.
Shell Teamwork Lincoln Co. Motorsport, they finished first and second.
Huh.
Sonny Wong, the
Huh.
Hong Kong racer, finished behind his teammate to win that event. And Lo Zhe-ho third. So 2 Hong Kong drivers on the podium in the Gira race.
And also, I wanted to say that was the largest field in any of the races. 33 cars were in that race. Only 26 were classified. 27 to 33rd were not classified.
2 more events. The Macau Touring Car Cup, which are domestic touring cars. Mitsubishi, class of the field for this event. Juan Long,
Oof.
a Macanese driver. In fact, Macau drivers first and second here. Mitsubishi Lancer Evo 10 in a 12-lap shootout.
Oh my.
And lastly, the Greater Bay Area GT Cup, won by David Peng Quan Lum for Team TRC, driving a Mercedes AMG GT4, beating a KTM and a Ginetta. 3 Ginettas in the top 5, one of them in the podium. There were better years for this event.
Yeah.
However, it's great that we had it.
Yeah, like I was looking, the Formula 4 race was the closest gap between first and second was 0.5. Then like the Macau GT Cup was 4.8 seconds. Then 3.044 for the Macau Guia race. The Macau Touring Cup, 45 seconds in 12 laps. 45-second gap. How many? Only 10 were on the lead lap in the Macau Touring Cup. Interesting. And in the Greater Bay Area GT Cup, 5.2 seconds. So basically the Formula 4 race was, like, the gap was closer. Yeah. Like, some of the races, I've seen most races in, like, the Macau Grand Prix. I've noticed it's been always a close gap, except 2018 was not that close. Dan Ticktum dominated that race in 2018. But this race was close at the end, only 0.3 of a second.
All right. That said, the final race of the 2020 MotoGP World Championship took place in Portimao, Portugal for the Portuguese Motorcycle Grand Prix, the 14th and final race of the 2020 season. And the race winner, how about this? Hometown driver, just like the hometown driver winning at Macau, Charles Leong. Portuguese motorcycle rider, Miguel Oliveira, ended up winning the Portuguese Grand Prix. He also got the fastest lap and started on pole. A dominating effort. Jack Miller, Franco Morbidelli, second and third. So KTM, Ducati, Yamaha, first, second, and third. Paul Espargaro, fourth. Takaki Nakagami, Andrea Dovizioso, Stefan Bradl, Alex Espargaro, Alex Marquez, Johan Zarco, Maverick Vinales, Valentino Rossi, Cal Cotro, Fabio Quartararo, and Alex Rins were your points-paying finishers from Sunday's race. And the final standings in the Riders' Championship, obviously the champion was Joan Mir. He clinched last week in Valencia. Franco Morbidelli, second. Third place. Fourth place, Andrea Dovizioso. Fifth place, Paul Espargaro. In fact, they were tied for fourth. Fourth place was a tie between two riders, Dovizioso and Paul Espargaro. Maverick Vinales, 3 points back, as well as Jack Miller. Vinales won the tie for 6 over Miller. Quartararo, at one point, he was leading for most of the championship. 8th place in final classification. Miguel Oliveira 9th, and Takaki Nakagami 10th. Brad Binder, the lowest rider in the standings. Actually, no, I take that back. 11th, and Daniele Petrucci 12th. He's the lowest rider in the championship that has won a race this year. That's how competitive 2020 was for MotoGP.
It was. Like, I saw not many races. I did see the final race. There was a rerun on NBC yesterday afternoon, so I watched that because the reason I couldn't watch many races or couldn't watch all of them because of in Canada, BIN Sport, they broadcasted, but that channel is like $20, so that's why I can't afford that because premium channels. So yeah, but it was an interesting race. Like the season's been interesting also.
Now the shocking injury to Marc Marquez.
Yeah.
In the opening race of the season was just a shockwave around the motorcycle world. Marquez is just unbelievably successful with all the championships he's won. If you just look at it, where he's been in MotoGP since the debut of 2013, the only year he's never won a MotoGP title, 2015.
Wow.
And it wasn't like that he wasn't a factor or anything.
No.
He was there, but it was just hey Lorenzo that won it.
It's like I remember at the end of last year when we had the MotoGP season, I remember all of us, Marc Marquez is going to win. I remember when we always picked Marc Marquez to win. Like, we're just like, oh, Marc Marquez is going to win this race. Oh, he's going to win that race. With his injury, that just basically had a door wide open. Like, more wide open compared to usual.
I don't care who you are. I don't think anyone should wish injury on an athlete. But it's incredible how dominating one could be in the circumstances where his absence resulted in one of the most competitive seasons. Fabio Quartararo, who was leading the championship for more than half the season before his injury, that dropped him all the way down to 8th in classification. And mind you, the champion scored 171 points, while Quartararo had 127.
Wow.
The injury, which was, I think it was France.
I think it was France. I think. I'm trying to remember.
So I know he scored pole and in practice, I think it was practice that he crashed. But it was one of those races, and then the door opened again. Now, I want to see Quartararo succeed in the future. I think we all do. The battles don't stop in the Riders' Championship. Constructors was close. And what I mean by that is the Suzuki Riders' Championship, or the Riders' Championship was won by a Suzuki rider and Joan Mir. And mind you, Joan Mir never won a Grand Prix until the European Grand Prix, just 1 week before he clinched the championship in Valencia.
Joseph, I figured out the crash you were talking about was the Aragon Grand Prix. Aragon Grand Prix. He was top. Yeah, it was in a practice. Yeah, that was the race that he. Yeah.
I was just about to mention, though, Suzuki almost had the triple for championships, except for constructors. Team Suzuki Ecstar won the team's championship over Petronas Yamaha SRT, Rebel KTM Factory Racing, Ducati team, and Pramac Racing. Now, the Yamahas got slammed pretty badly after failing to respect the MSMA technical protocols for technical changes So the two Yamaha team and the constructor itself got docked points. The constructor got docked 50 points in the Constructors' Championship. In the Teams' Championship, Petronas was docked 37 points, and Monster Energy Yamaha MotoGP was docked 20 points from their respective positions.
Yeah.
However, Yamaha did manage to get 2 points ahead of Suzuki for second in the Constructors' Championship as Ducati won over Yamaha. It was actually 221 points for Ducati, Yamaha 204 points, and then 202 points for Suzuki. KTM 200 points in fourth, and just under 200 points. Honda with 2 runner-up finishes this year, 144 points, and Aprilia with 51 points. This season was all held in Europe due to the regulations and everything that had to be done this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as a person who isn't too much into the two-wheel racing, as of course as car racing, so, we're enthusiasts with auto racing compared to bike racing. I'm so excited to watch MotoGP in 2021.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, same here.
Yeah, me too. Like, it's been interesting. It's been really interesting.
Absolutely. There were other championships that were crowned in MotoGP. The Moto2 championship was won by an Italian rider named Ennio Bastiani. He won the 2020 Moto2 championship, 9 points ahead of his countryman rival Luca Marini, riding a Calyx engineering bike. Calyx did win. They had a perfect season in the constructors' standings. They won every race in the Moto2 championship this year.
Wow.
They're also the lead bike.
Wow, that's winning. A constructor winning every race. Wow.
Well, they support many teams. The team's standings was won by Sky Racing Team VR 46.
But still,
yeah.
winning every race, that's still impressive for a constructor. That's still impressive because there's some teams like in constructors. I remember people said that it's like there's some places where a constructor doesn't win every race, but here the same constructor has won every race, which is just impressive.
Well, I'm looking at constructors. Only Speed Up had podium finishes other than a Calyx bike. There were 4 constructors in the season, but most of the teams run Calyx bikes. It's Moto2.
Okay.
Now, Moto3 this year, the championship for the Moto3 championship was decided. In fact, I forgot to mention Moto2. I think Moto2, Moto3, and Moto E started in Qatar. Now, the Qatar Grand Prix happened at the same weekend when the world turned upside down.
Oh, yeah. I remember that now.
Just enough time to get the other races in preceding the main event, and then MotoGP called off.
Yeah. Yeah, and that weekend everybody was like, what do we do now?
Yeah.
I remember being so bored that weekend. Yeah.
So I forgot to mention that. It's someone new to MotoGP. But the Moto3 championship was won by Spanish rider Albert Arenas in a KTM. He rode a KTM bike, picked up 3 wins this year. 4 points separated the top 3 in the championship.
Whoa.
Tony Arbolino, the Italian rider, second and third, tied for second. Ai Ogura, Japanese rider, who picked up podiums in almost every race except for 5 this year. 170 points as well. That's competitive. Now, constructor standings more diverse in Moto3. Honda, KTM, and Husqvarna managed to win at least once, but it was Honda to win the constructor standings. Leopard Racing won the team standings. And lastly, the Moto E World Cup, a single spec electric motorcycle racing championship. The Moto E World Cup won by Jordi Torres over Matteo Ferrari and Dominique Aguirre. 97 points tied for those 2 riders in second and third as well. That championship was completed in Le Mans for the French Grand Prix months ago. All right, time for F1. This weekend, significant events include the Formula One World Championship as they go to the Middle East to complete the final 3 races of the season. 2 races in Bahrain with 2 different layouts. The Bahrain Grand Prix this weekend for round 15 to 17. The next weekend, the Sakir Grand Prix at the different layout of Bahrain International Circuit.
The outer layout, they call it for next week. But this week, the regular layout.
Thanks, Justin. And at Yas Marina Circuit in Abu Dhabi, 2 weeks from now, the season-closing Abu Dhabi Grand Prix for 2020. That makes up your 17-race schedule for the World Championship. Formula 2, just 2 weeks to go at Bahrain International Circuit. 2 races at Bahrain, week 11 of 12 this weekend at Bahrain, and the next weekend at the Outer Circuit, right, Justin?
Yep. Yeah.
Outer Circuit for the 12th and final week of the Formula 2 Championship. If you're a sports car fan, Super GT, the Japanese GT Championship, formerly known as JGTC, closes their season out this upcoming weekend for the Fuji 300-kilometer race. They've used Fuji many times this year to make up for travel barriers.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, their season comes to a close as well. So as far as the Bahrain Grand Prix is concerned, the Constructors Championship and the Drivers Championship, that's all clinched up by Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes. With these, there are plenty of spots to go in other positions in the World Championship as far as they are concerned. But let's look ahead into the Bahrain Grand Prix, how this event got started. Yes, there was controversy, a lot of controversy, resulting in cancellation from the 2011 event and nearly a cancellation in the 2012 race as civil unrest was happening in the area. The Bahrain International Circuit in 2004 hosted the very first Formula One Grand Prix in the Middle East. That race was won by Michael Schumacher in 2004 in a season that was just incomprehensible by many at the time for Ferrari and Michael Schumacher, his 7th and final World Championship in 2004. Last year it was Lewis Hamilton who took the win, and last year's race, that was I think March of 2019, long time ago.
Yeah, I remember that race. Ferrari, one of Vettel's spins last year. Oh no, it was the first spin of 2019. And where he spun, and then his front wing broke, and Charles Leclerc's engine issue, which dropped him to 3rd. He got a podium, but lost the race to both
Looked
Mercedes.
like he was going to get the win at one point.
Yep.
So, as far as wins are concerned, it's actually a pretty decent list here. We have Sebastian Vettel holds the number for most wins at the Bahrain Grand Prix, 4 times more than any other driver in the event. 2 with Red Bull and 2 with Ferrari. Fernando Alonso and Lewis Hamilton have 3 wins each at the circuit, and Felipe Massa 2 wins at Bahrain. Constructor wins, Ferrari 6 times, including 2 out of the last 3 years. Mercedes 4 times, and twice for Renault and Red Bull.
Yep.
Will there be anything surprising this weekend?
I say no, because Bahrain is it's just
another
the thing
tough track.
about
it's another tough track.
But it's not.
As far as corners go, what do you think, Justin?
For me, just Bahrain, drivers know the track. It's like the thing about Bahrain, there's a lot of straights also. There's a lot of high-speed corners and tight corners, which this season Mercedes has been good on straights. the fast corners and slow corners. Ferrari's not going to like the fast corners or the straights because that front stretch is long going into turn one. So it's not going to be the best time for Ferrari because, one, we don't expect rain at Bahrain. It's in the desert. So Bahrain, there most likely won't be any rain. It's 2020.
We were proven wrong badly in the 24 hours of Dubai earlier this year.
Oh yeah.
But I just feel like it's going to be probably Lewis Hamilton cruising away with the Mercedes just 1 and 2 pulling away from Max Verstappen in third, and then fourth on back are just battling with each other. But I just feel like it's going to be normal race because the Mercedes team is just so good recently.
What were you saying there, Danny?
No, I wasn't saying. I was talking about the straightaways. I honestly feel like Mercedes. Now that Mercedes and is coming to Bahrain now, I think this is going to be a test of the straightaways and the long corners. We can keep on the gas. So I honestly think they will do good at Bahrain.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, the battle for the win could be clear, cut, simple for an answer of a question like that. But how about in the World Drivers' Championship? Max Verstappen, he's 70 points to the good for third, but he might close in on Bottas. If Bottas messes up again,
it's just I just feel like it's not likely to happen because Valtteri's been better at Bahrain statistically than Max. Bottas, there's no. So one thing, Bottas doesn't have rain to worry about because the thing about Turkey, the thing that was a plague at Turkey for some of the teams was they resurfaced the track. That's why there was not much grip. This time, this track has grip. The tires are normal. There's no rain, so basically Bahrain is going to be... I feel like if if Valtteri just plays the races normally, finishes second, but probably he'll finish second. If he continues his podium streaks, he'll keep second. If he finishes second 3 times in a row and Max finishes third, I feel like Valtteri will keep second in points.
But looking further, between Charles Leclerc, who is 5th in the World Championship, 97 points, 6th place, Daniel Ricciardo, 96 points. They're in a little fight between each other for 5th in the World Championship. Oh, let's not forget. I forgot to mention Perez. Perez, 100 points. So that's a 3 driver battle here. 4 points separating those 3 drivers. And then from 7th down to 9th, there's a battle between 3 drivers: Carlos Sainz, Lando Norris, Alex Albon, 2 McLaren drivers, and the Red Bull driver, Albon, who has been struggling this year. Albon did get his first podium. Let's not put him down too much about his run in Tuscany. Pierre Gasly and Lance Stroll, and I guess Esteban Ocon could reach Gasly, but
just Ocon is Ocon gets points. Some races I've seen Ocon running 12th, outside the points. If Ocon gets outside the points, he has no chance.
And pretty much after that, Sebastian Vettel could reach Ocon.
7 points.
He just needs to stay out of trouble on this one. Hope a Ferrari can cooperate.
But it's also Ferrari's going to tracks. The next 3 tracks are tracks with a lot of straightaways and fast corners. That's Ferrari's weakness. Like the corners that are fast and the straights. That's what they're lacking.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
I think they need overall they just need the biggest overhaul for next year.
yeah. Because remember when they were last year, they were up front in the constructors and winning races. Now they're just running. Sometimes, like, there's just some races where they're barely beating the backmarked teams. It's like I feel like Ferrari's not gonna do the best this weekend compared to other teams. It's just their weaknesses is there, the
What about
straightaways.
those other teams, Justin? How about Racing Point, Sergio Perez? How could Checo do on a track like this?
I feel
He's
like
without a ride next year.
I feel like Checo's really gonna do good. One, these sorts of tracks I've noticed that suits his style, and also, like I've seen in fast corners where Checo is really good. Also about the Racing Point is fast. I know it's people are still saying about the W10 from Mercedes last year. Like it has decent straight speed. Like on the straightaways, you see how fast that Racing Point is. I feel like Racing Point will do good. I feel like Checo will prevail and get a good finish to help him keep his
What if
fourth.
I told you in 2014, his very first podium with Force India happened in his second start, the 2014 Bahrain Grand Prix.
Yeah.
Perez finished third.
Yeah, and he's
Didn't he get another podium in 2012 at Malaysia?
Yeah, Malaysia. That was his best finish, second place.
Yeah, that was his second. That was his best podium.
Yeah, it happened last 2 weeks ago. The Turkish Grand Prix, second place.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's like Perez, those tracks like Bahrain suits his style, which is really an advantage. And Racing Point has decent speed. I know people don't like Racing Point having speed. I feel like we don't want always the same teams to have some speed. Racing Point has some speed, which is really good for that race team.
Daniel Ricciardo's record in 2020 is very good. And what I mean by that, there are only 3 Grand Prix this year where Ricciardo didn't finish in the points.
Wow.
He's on a streak since Spain of this year. An 11th place finish, barely missing out on points to where he's at, barely getting a 10th place spot.
Oh, yeah.
2 weeks ago in Istanbul. So the numbers are very good for Ricciardo. Danny Rick moving to McLaren next year. If he keeps this going, the start of a new era will be just surreal.
Oh, absolutely.
For McLaren.
He definitely just needs to keep the momentum going.
Absolutely.
As far as podiums go, I think it will lead up to him getting my prediction for next year. If with the way how he's driving this season, I think he will get at least 3 wins next year. That's a reasonable number, right?
I wish it was. I mean, they are going to Mercedes in 2021. McLaren Mercedes will come back. And if you think about Ricciardo's record, his last podium since the podium at Nürburgring at the Eiffel Grand Prix this year was the win at Monaco in 2018 with Red Bull equipment. So,
yeah. Hey Joseph, do you see what I put in the private chat? I said, who's going to do better, Grosjean or Magnussen? Oof. I just don't know because recently Magnussen has so many DNFs randomly. Some of the DNFs are just him, just DNFing. It's weird. People say Grosjean DNFs a lot. I'm like, most of the DNFs are Magnussen. Somehow Grosjean just outpointing Magnussen.
The way how Haas is running this season is just not good.
Nope.
And as
They
an
will
F,
get new drivers next year.
yeah, and as an F1 fan, you really just wonder, is it really
Yeah.
worth it to just put them on your radar right now?
Yeah, like Grosjean has 2 points. Magnussen, 1 single point. Grosjean. This is last year. Magnussen outpointed Grosjean. This year is the opposite. Grosjean has more points than Magnussen.
Single-digit points ain't gonna do you well.
But at least they have more points than Williams. Williams is still stuck with 0, which
I mean, let's not go too harsh on
it's
Haas
just
F1. They were much better. If we look at their season 2 years ago, or even 2016, 2017.
Yeah, their seasons were better. 2018 was better. 2019 was bad. 2020 last year they had more points. This year they only had 3, but most of them's Grosjean instead of Magnussen, which doesn't help Haas's case. What Grosjean finishes recently, Magnussen is DNFing, which really doesn't help Haas getting points.
So that leaves us with another question. With 2021, the outlook of 2021, the lineups for team entries, Haas Ferrari is confirmed, but the drivers are not. I have my predictions on who's going to the Haas Ferrari next year. I'm just going to tell you guys right now, since Alfa Romeo's confirmed next year, same drivers, same team, same constructors, everything. Alfa Romeo Racing with Giovinazzi and Raikkonen returning. I see Callum Ilott and Mick Schumacher in the Haas Ferrari next year. Now, I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, I think you'll see Hulkenberg or Perez possibly. They deserve to stay in F1 too, just as much as up and coming drivers are. But too many drivers for too little spots. It's literally musical chairs.
Yeah, it's like Ferrari has so many drivers in their academy, and I remember Robert Schwartzman is going to be testing with Ferrari. Somebody said why not Schumacher? And people said Schumacher was doing better. I'm like, Schumacher has less wins. Schumacher only got lucky. Some of the races he gave points is because everybody DNF. It's like people are saying Schumacher deserves to be in Ferrari next year instead of
They
Sainz.
both deserve to be.
No,
there.
Somebody said Mick Schumacher should be in Ferrari instead of Sainz because he's a Schumacher. He's going to dominate like his father. I'm like, how do you know that Mick's going to dominate F1? There's no proof of that. Just because he has the same last name, he's not going to dominate F1. It's like
Dale Earnhardt Jr.
He didn't dominate compared to his father. It's like,
I mean, they were both good drivers at their times.
Yeah, but like Dale Sr. was better than Dale Sr. really did good compared to Dale Jr. But it's like people think Mick Schumacher is going to be like as far like you can't tell by being in F2. F1 and F2 cars are different.
There are some similarities between the two Schumachers, Michael Schumacher and Mick Schumacher. Michael's aggressive driving style did ruffle some feathers wrongly. In some situations, of course, like what we saw in the 90s. But Michael Schumacher drove aggressively. He was a fearless driver in his time. And I see that fearless attitude in Mick, especially this year. And it sucks we've gone, I think, about a month since the last F2 race in Sochi.
Oh, yeah.
And that is where Mick showed his stride and started just climbing up the ladder in the Drivers' Championship.
And that race that ended early because they went over the 1 hour limit because of that wreck with Giotto and Aitken. Just remember, that was the last F2 race. I just remembered about that wreck. And
speaking of Jack Eichen, he's going to drive a Williams car the Abu Dhabi weekend.
Yep, he's a test driver for Williams, driving for Campos and F2, which It's kind of bad. I was looking. I guess that I just remembered that Jack Aitken, all the points that Campos scored is all him. His rookie teammate has scored 0, but he's still a rookie. Yeah.
Let's not forget about the Constructors Championship. There are plenty of action. I completely missed the boat on that conversation there.
Second.
But hey, drivers of the future are always interesting to bring up, especially this time of the year when silly season is just around the corner, or in some series already here. Mercedes, they of course out of the ballpark. 504 points, home run.
They're just gone. They're just gone. Yeah.
Red Bull Racing Honda, I think they could clinch 240. With 240 points, they could clinch second in the World Constructors Championship. Racing Point, BWC Mercedes, 154 points. Now they are still able to be caught by McLaren. McLaren is 5 points behind Racing Point, 149 points for McLaren, and Renault is 136 points in the score charts.
Yeah, it's going to be close. Like, Racing Point is third right now. It's like Racing Point's just strong. Like, if Racing Point keeps having strong runs with both their cars, that's going to help them. They just have to not have double DNFs. That's what the Racing Point team wants to avoid, the double DNFs.
Right. McLaren, if they continue their double points finishes that they lacked in the last, and actually like 4 out of the last 6 races, which they're back on the boat here. They could catch Racing Point possibly if, let's say, Lance Stroll struggles or Perez may have a puncture or something. Then McLaren could mathematically reach Racing Point for third in Constructors. But between 5th and 6th, Renault and Ferrari, there's 6 points. And below Ferrari, everyone's spread out. AlphaTauri Honda, 89 points. Alfa Romeo Racing Ferrari, 8 points. Haas Ferrari, 3 points. One race could make a difference between those. Actually, and then of course Williams Mercedes, 0 points. Between those 3 constructors, one race could actually make a difference between their positions in the constructors standings.
Yeah.
Though they may be unlikely to happen, it could possibly, happen. All right, so let's make predictions for the Bahrain Grand Prix podium. Justin, I'll start with you.
Okay, my podium is my podium is Hamilton, Bottas, and Max Verstappen. Yeah.
Danny, what do you got?
I would definitely have to go with Hamilton, Bottas, and Ricardo. Let's see. Let's see if Ricardo can step up at Bahrain this weekend coming up.
Yeah, because it could still happen that Verstappen has blown tires or something, because you never know about Red Bull.
No, there has not been a Red Bull winning the Bahrain Grand Prix since Sebastian Vettel himself did it in 2013. So it has been a while. Now, Verstappen will have to make a lot of bold moves for a win to happen, despite his speed in the corners and everything everything well that he does. Okay, I'm going to go with Lewis Hamilton winning. He'll get his 95th career win.
Yep.
Second place will be Max Verstappen. Third place will be Lando Norris.
Wow, Lando Norris.
Absolutely. Will there be an interesting lineup for or interesting results for points?
I don't know. I just don't know because I don't know how Bahrain's gonna be because I don't know if there's gonna be multiple cars out of the race. Because I've been reading these stats, like Williams, it's kind of bad. People thought that Russell has more 11th place finishes this season. He only has one. Latifi has 3 11th place finishes. Yeah. Like, it's kind of interesting how Latifi's finished 11th at Austria, Italy, and at Imola. While Russell's only 11th place was the Tuscan Grand Prix' only 11th place finish. I don't think
I'm going to
Williams...
have a really bold prediction, but...
Oh, gosh. How bad is it?
Finishing 9th will be Romain Grosjean in a Haas, and finishing 10th will be George Russell in Williams.
That's interesting. Grosjean, I see him finishing better than Magnussen again. Magnussen's been DNFing too many times, which is kind of a problem if you're trying to get points. Some of the DNFs are just weird DNFs.
Crash damage.
It's just, sometimes I just see his car shut off randomly. I'm like, what happened now? It's like Grosjean's just normally racing and then Magnussen's car is on the side of the track. Yeah, Magnussen's just...
He's a great driver, though.
It's just his weird season of his teammate doing better, which you never expect Grosjean to do good. People say Grosjean's the worst.
He's not the best driver. He's not the worst driver either.
Yeah, and
I just think their numbers don't reflect upon their talent.
Yeah, it's like also Grosjean did do better than Maldonado at Lotus. People forget that Maldonado did bad at his 2 years.
Pastor Maldonado, he's another story.
Man. It's because this morning I saw the video of him flipping Esteban Gutierrez at Bahrain. That's what I remember seeing.
Is that a 2015?
2014.
2014.
Maldonado came out of the pits and hit him. It was so interesting.
Yeah. All right, Formula 2. Now there's a lot to update you on F2 as far as that's concerned. There are 2 weeks left. If you're unfamiliar with Formula 2 racing, there are 2 races in a weekend, and that means 4 races left in total between 2 weeks of racing at Bahrain. This upcoming weekend, Mick Schumacher has the points lead. He's got 191 points in first. Now in second place with 169 points is Callum Ilott. Third place, 147 points, Yuki Tsunoda. Christian Lundgaard, fourth with 145 points. Fifth and sixth are tied with the 2 Russian drivers, Robert Schwartzman and Nikita Mazepin, 140 points each.
Yeah.
And it seems like all 6 of those drivers had at least one glimpse or 2 in the points lead.
Yeah. Like, also for F2 news that people didn't remember that Sean Gelael is back for the final 2 races. He got injured, remember, at Spain. Remember, he hit that curb and was stopped on the side of the track?
The feature race.
Yeah, so Yuri Vips did race those past events, but Sean Gelael will be back alongside Dan Ticktum for the final 2 races of the season. The final 2 rounds of the season. Oh yeah, also that people forgot, starting at Russia, which was last round. Remember that round when Nobuharu Matsushita left MP Motorsport? So they moved Giuliano Alesi from the HWA Race Lab team. He's driving alongside Drogovic. If people forgot about that, I remember that switch they made.
Yeah. I hope it gets an F2 ride next year. He showed a lot of speed, especially that run at Mugello when he finished third in the sprint race.
Yeah, Yuri Vips. I remember that. Like, Yeah, I wish he could have an F2 ride. Like,
I think it will next year.
hopefully, like he just has so much. Like he brought so much potential when he got the call to replace Sean Galisle, and he really did good in his starts. And
Right.
some of the races where he did better than his teammate Dan Ticktum.
All right. The team's championship, as far as team's championship is concerned, Primo Racing leads that with 331 points. 2 weeks to go. 288.5 points. In second is Unai Virtuosi Racing, including the last race at Sochi, which was won by Guan Yu in the sprint race.
Oh, yeah.
That's where they have half points because they didn't resume.
Oh, yeah. Because of the... Yeah, because they went over their 1 hour limit.
Third place, High Tech Grand Prix, 244 championship points. Fourth place, Art Grand Prix, 183 points. In fact, they are tied with Carlin. Carlin, 183 points as well. Each team shares 2 wins, respectively, in the Formula 2 championship.
Yeah. A lot of the teams have wins, including MP Motorsport, which this year they're good. Last year they had one good driver. The other driver was lacking. If people should know who that driver was.
I know where it's going, Justin.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, this year, some of these F2 teams that you didn't expect last year to win in 2019, like Filip Drugovich, he's an example of doing good. Like, he's a rookie in F2, and some of the races he's up front and winning, which is just impressive as a rookie.
Absolutely. But you obviously understand why Primo Racing's up top, because the 2 drivers in there are Mick Schumacher,
Robert Schwartzman,
the 2 Ferrari Driver Academy personnel. They are super talented.
Yeah.
With a bright future ahead.
They do.
All right, predictions for the feature race. So if you're unfamiliar with how F2 races work, the feature race is a little bit longer than the sprint race. The feature race comes first in the weekend on Saturday, and then on Sunday is the sprint race. The sprint race is usually less than, I think, half the distance of a feature race, but you get the top 10 drivers points in the feature race, but the top 8 gets points in the sprint race. So,
and also the top 8 from the sprint race, feature race, that's a reverse grid for the top 8. So whoever finishes 8th in the feature will start first in the sprint race the next day.
That is correct.
Yep.
Who's going to win the feature race? Let's make a prediction here.
Okay. For me, my prediction to win the feature race, I have Guan Yu Zhou, because he's been really consistent recently. He's just there, so I feel like he's going to bring his pace and win.
For the feature race, Mick Schumacher.
Yeah, he's gonna have speed. Obviously, the Prema team they're just good. I know that all the F2 teams have the same car, like the same engine. It's a spec series. Yeah, but it's like the better teams still win because the engineers, like some of the engineers at some of the teams are really strong in Prema.
Yeah.
That's a strong team.
Jenny, who you got for the feature on Saturday?
You know what? I'm gonna have to go with Mick Schumacher. The guy's just proven himself again and again. You know, as Justin said, every team has the same motor, the same chassis, same with everything, but it all comes down to the driver.
Yeah, it does.
It all comes down to the driver, and I think Mick Schumacher is the one to get it done.
I am unfamiliar, to be unfortunately honest, whether or not he could clinch the championship this weekend, but
we'll see.
I don't think that's the case. Actually, win the race, you get 15 points. So
we'll just see about. It just depends how ILOT does. Like the other drivers, it's like even the top guys like Prema could still qualify. Like you never know who could win a pole in F2. F2
Oh, yeah.
pole winners. I've seen weird pole winners like recently.
All right,
like
the sprint race winner, real quick.
okay,
Wait, actually, finish your statement.
I was saying about like F2, like because it's a spec series, like for them, being behind someone is sometimes bad in F1 for dirty air. There's not much dirty air, so if you're behind someone, like you could get randomly a fast lap. Like I've seen Roy Nissany. Roy Nissany's one example. He just gets fastest laps. But sometimes he just doesn't get the points, but he gets fastest laps.
All right, so speaking of racing at fast speeds, you're going to need to be quick during the sprint race. And no driver, I think, could manage that if you're not Dan Ticktum. Dan Ticktum will win the sprint race. He's really, really quick.
Yeah, I also have Dan Ticktum. Like, it's kind of funny where most Dan Ticktum, I've noticed most finishes, the reason he wins the sprint race, he always finishes 8th somehow. And some of his results, he finishes 8th in the feature to start first in the sprint race and win. It's just like Dan Ticktum. I remember people didn't like when his personality, but then he started calming down, like more than before. But like, he's showing his talent with the Dom's team.
And Ticktum is under the Williams banner as a development and test driver.
Like Jack Aitken and Roy Nissany, who's also races in that same series in F2.
And W Series champion Jamie Chadwick is part of the Williams development program as well.
Yep.
And I think Ticktum, he declined an opportunity with Red Bull. Am I right?
No, he got kicked out of the program.
Oh, yeah, he got kicked out of it. I'm sorry.
Yes.
But
yeah, I remember when he got kicked out.
Why did he get kicked out?
His attitude, I guess, was bad, and he kept bad-mouthing other people and all that for some reason. Different controversies out there.
You get a 2-year ban from motorsport. That is obviously going to affect how people perceive you in the future. Now, listen, he's living up to those second chances. You have to give everyone needs to give him credit here.
Yeah, because like the Doms needed drivers. They picked Sean Galile, who was at Prema, which Sean Galile's not the best, not the worst. He's just there. But Dan Ticktum, they needed a second driver. They picked Dan Ticktum, which Dan Ticktum did perform. Like, he's just performing really good in his Doms entry.
And he won the Macau Grand Prix twice. Yes, I understand how he won the 2017 Macau Grand Prix.
But 2018, he dominated.
No contest in that race.
Usually you don't hear domination at Macau. Usually you don't hear it. He won the qualifying and the main race. That's a statement right there.
All right. So, furthermore, let's discuss some silly season stats. Actually, beforehand, how about the Snowball Derby? Justin, how about you pull up the Snowball Derby entry list? Or the most recent version of it, that is. Because every day or every week, it seems like
it's updates. Yeah.
You usually get hundreds and hundreds of drivers making the Snowball Derby in Pensacola.
I don't know how much it's this year. Some people, the pandemic is most likely going to affect the entries compared to normal amount.
True.
Oh, wait. Whoops.
Now, silly season. Silly season, of course, is happening everywhere in NASCAR. I want to start off this discussion with the most interesting move that has happened since NASCAR capped off their 2020 season 2 weeks ago. And that is, of course, John Hunter Nemechek. John Hunter Nemechek, who is a seemingly proven driver, 3 top 10s in the Cup Series, driving for Front Row Motorsports, from a racing family himself, won 6 times in the Truck Series and very, very minimal equipment for Nemco Motorsports, which was a pretty tall order for any driver to. But to go back to the Truck Series, driving for Kyle Busch Motorsports, is this a reset button for John Hunter as a driver?
I feel like it is because, like, there was 2 options for Nemechek to stay in Cup. The first one was stay with Front Row and be running there, or go to a worse like level team in Cup. I don't think he wanted to be in a bad team. Like, I don't think he wanted to run for Rick Ware. I don't think not many drivers want to run for those teams. But I don't think he wanted to be. He wanted to be probably in a winning organization. Front Row. The thing about Front Row, they're good at plate tracks, which really helps. But the first win, that was a legit win, you saw. But their second win was the Fog at Pocono in 2016.
It doesn't really matter. I don't think we should just look up wins with a team like Front Row Motorsports.
But it's just I'm saying, like, the thing about it, I think Nemechek wants to be at an organization that's going out for win every week. That's the thing I'm trying to say, that he's probably trying to look at. Yeah, but that was probably his only opportunity, because the Cup Series, he probably only had low-budget teams. But going to, there was no Xfinity team, so Kyle Busch, they need,
I don't know about that. I think we still have many questions yet to be answered in the Xfinity Series and Truck Series still for 2021. But leaving the Cup Series, now we've seen a few drivers go from the Cup Series down to the lower series to own their skills and continue striving for a better opportunity in the top level. Now, Daniel Hemrick is the best example of that.
Current example, but there was Elliott Sadler, remember?
Well, here's the thing. Elliott Sadler finished his long Cup Series career, his long NASCAR career, in the Nationwide Series or Xfinity Series, which then morphed into a few years down the line.
But I mean, he dropped down. He didn't stay in Cup for his whole career. I mean, he dropped down.
Right. Or drivers who chose to race in the lower series, like Johnny Sauter.
Yeah, he's just in the trucks. He ran some Xfinity races last time in 2018. Other than that, he's been in the Truck Series.
Right. At one point, he was a development driver for Richard Childress Racing.
Yeah, his last Cup race was 2015. He made the one-off in the 500 in 2015, driving for BK Racing in the 83.
As far as Xfinity is concerned, there are still questions like Riley Herbst. Riley Herbst, he'll be in the 98 car for Stuart Haas next year. There are only 2 Ford cars confirmed, except for Rick Ware Racing, whatever they decide.
We don't know.
Factory Fords.
I don't
they
know.
They could have more spots open. I'm not sure what the plan is. Usually those 2 lower tier NASCAR series, you have to wait a long time to hear what these teams do, the decisions they make.
Yeah.
Who's in, who's out.
Yeah, it's like Rick Ware Racing. They ran part-time this year. They're running full-time with 2 cars. Not 1, 2.
Yes, 2.
The 17 is their first car. The other one to be announced, obviously. It's going to be interesting. There's different teams in Xfinity that still don't have their drivers confirmed. SS has the 08 confirm of Joe Graff Jr. Yes, he's back. The 07, that is unknown. is it going to be a full-time driver or many part-time drivers? Like, actually, 2020 was
How about Greg
supposed.
Alding? He delivered Bobby Donner their best finishers, two second place finishes, Talladega last year in Daytona in the 250 race this year.
Yeah, like the 07 was supposed to be one driver, Ray Black Jr. But remember the situation with his family business? He decided to pull out of this team.
Right.
So basically, that's why you saw Garrett Smithley running the race at Darlington, the return race. So that's why you saw different drivers like Carson Ware. Like, you basically saw the Rick Ware lineup in that 07 car.
Correct. And unfortunately, we learned today that Morgan Shepherd, the longtime owner driver who operates Shepherd Racing Ventures, Morgan Shepherd, the 79-year-old driver who raced in NASCAR and stock car racing for over 53 years, has been diagnosed with early stages Parkinson's disease, and unfortunately, his team only withstood one race since NASCAR went on pause this year. That was Darlington, but just on outside the race car, outside the racetrack, Morgan Shepherd is no doubtly just one of the most beloved figures in NASCAR and motorsports. And obviously we hope for the best for Shepherd and his family and those around him, but that is some painful news.
Yeah.
So Morgan Shepherd, sounds like they won't be racing in 2021. They managed to run only one race in 2020 after being put on pause.
Yeah.
A team Landon Castle drove for. Now, Landon Castle has been in NASCAR for about 15 years.
Yeah.
I think any more talks for Xfinity as far as Xfinity Series is concerned. Daniel Hemrick, I made a prediction this year Hemrick would score his first career win in the Xfinity Series. It was close. He didn't get the job done. I think for sure he will get that first win in Xfinity in 2021. He'll be a factor in the championship, no doubt.
But is he going to be better than his teammate Harrison Burton in the 20 car?
That's a good question.
Harrison did miss the... like the thing about Harrison Byrne, he just had bad races. That's why he didn't make it all the way trying to get to Phoenix.
Will we see an improvement for Riley Herbst in Stuart Haas Racing Equipment? That is a question I am unfortunately unable to answer. Now, he did finish second. I think he finished second twice this year.
I know
he finished second to teammate Harrison Burton at Fontana. 1-2 for Joe Gibbs Racing.
He did finish second. I've seen him.
But if you're driving for Joe Gibbs Racing and finish 12th in a series where about 60% or more of the field are teams people call back markers, and you're in the best car, there has to be some improvements here.
Yeah.
Filling in the shoes of Chase Briscoe, whether or not you come with sponsorship, time's ticking. Austin Cindric, I believe he has a good chance to defend his championship. Now, on the Cup side, we'll see him run a few events in a fourth Penske car. That should be exciting.
Yeah.
How about the Truck Series? This week, the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series announced their 22-race championship schedule that includes 2 new circuits, or I should say 2.5 new tracks, because one of them is the same facility, just a different version.
Yeah.
And returning tracks that include 3 returning tracks, 2 that haven't been on the schedule in 10 or more years. So 22 races. The season will start typical at the Daytona 250 in February as part of the Daytona 500 weekend on the 12th, and will finish on the 5th of November at Phoenix for the Lucas Oil 150, the race that will determine the championship, with the championship for, as far as the playoffs are concerned, the playoffs will have these 7 events: Gateway, Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, also known as Mosport, and Bristol Motor Speedway as the round of 10, the round of 8, Las Vegas Motor Speedway, Talladega Super Speedway, and Martinsville Speedway, and then at Phoenix for the Championship 4 race. The playoffs are going to be very interesting. 3 completely different tracks in the 2 rounds preceding the Championship 4 race. You have a mile-long circuit at Gateway, a road course in Bowmanville, Ontario, and at Bristol Motor Speedway, a short track.
Yeah.
And then Las Vegas Motor Speedway, the intermediate speedway. Fast speeds, Talladega Super Speedway, restrictor plate style of racing. And then Martinsville Speedway, the paper clip in Virginia. So the new tracks that are part of the truck series for the first time, Bristol Motor Speedway, I guess we'll count it as a new track because they will run on dirt this year. The Bristol Motor Speedway dirt track for the first time will be on the truck series calendar on March 27th this year.
Yep.
Circuit of the Americas, home of the U.S. Grand Prix since 2012 in Austin, Texas, will be host of round 9 of the season on May 22nd. And on July 9th in Iowa, home of the Crown Jewel Knoxville Nationals in Knoxville, Iowa, the dirt track of Knoxville Raceway will debut in the Truck Series schedule in round 14 of the season. 3 tracks return to the calendar. Start off with last year's missing track, or this year, should I say, Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, also known as Mosport, in Bowmanville, Ontario, due to order issues. They could not race this year. It was canceled. So 2019, of course, 1 year gap. 2021, they'll be back as part of the NASCAR playoffs on September 5th. For the first time since 2011, Nashville Super Speedway in nearby Lebanon, Tennessee, which is a lengthy drive from Nashville itself. That track will be on the map. Let me see, Nashville Super Speedway, round 12, June 18th. And for the first time since 2000, Watkins Glen International will host a race in the Truck Series. First time since 2000 on August 7th, round 15 of the season. So here are some stats, fun facts about the season in the trucks. For the first time in series history, in the 25-plus years history of the NASCAR Truck Series, there will be 2 dirt races in the same season. And for the first time in almost 21 seasons, the NASCAR Truck Series will have more than 1 race on a road course.
This is interesting that I'm seeing. There is rumors about... I'm just looking about teams like CMI. They're back. People thought they were gone. Nope, they're back with Tim Vaines in their 49 truck. Just looking through Brett Holmes. There's a rumor about Brett Holmes Racing, with Brett Holmes running part-time in the trucks. That's a rumor. that's going on. Cram Enterprises, there's a rumor that Chris Hacker will drive the 41 truck part-time starting at Daytona. There's another one, Trey Hutchins, running 8 to 12 races possibly next year. Howie DiSavino, who was supposed to run Richmond, that was last year, but this year, remember when it was scheduled for April? He was supposed to run in that race, but he didn't run any races. He'll run part-time for Wintron. That's a rumor. Lyra, they said they'll be running truck races with the possible number is number 60. That's their possible number. Same as Keith McGee driving for the Rayom team or TC Motorsports number 91.
That might be pending depending on the situation with the team owner.
Well, they'll just transfer the owner to his father, John. That's like there's just so many.
TC Motorsports, I think that's the team Justin S. Carroll.
Yeah, the 91. He's looking to run part-time in 2021 in the truck.
Brett Holmes Racing, the 2020 ARCA Series champion.
Yeah.
Bring his stuff to the trucks and give that a go.
Like, I'm just, like, Junior Motorsports has almost their whole lineup confirmed, except I'm calculating Dale Jr.'s running 1 race in the 8. Josh Berry's running 12. Sam Mayer's running 18 races. There's a TBA driver for 2 races, so someone's running 2 races in the 8. That's still unconfirmed.
I think it could be Zane Smith. I might be wrong on that, but
because I'm calculating, because 18, that's 31 races, and there's 33 not truck.
Xfinity Series.
Yeah, so there's 2 races someone's going to run. Mike Harmon's going to have 2 full-time cars, the 47 and 74, plus a part-time car. They're going to have a 3rd car with Mike Harmon, Greg Golding, and Joe Nemechek running part-time in the 3rd car. Yeah, so 3 people said 2 Mike Harmon cars was a lot. 3?
And another question, I was scrolling on Twitter earlier today, and Bob Pockris answered, so to make things clear, the number of cars that can make a grid for Xfinity and trucks as far as they're concerned. Now, remember, Xfinity Series grids were supposed to be 36 maximum this year before changes were made after the season was stopped in the spring this year, allowing 40 to be on the grid for Xfinity and trucks. Whether that stays or goes, whether the trucks go back to 32, which, 32, they actually decreased from 36 to 32 in the truck series about 5 years ago, and Xfinity grids decreased from 43 to 48 years ago. Then they went from 40 to 37 down to 36 in the last 3 years.
37, 38. It was.
38, I meant, in the last 3 years. Should there be a solid number across the 3 touring series at 40 cars?
It's like for some series there should be, like trucks. There's always somehow remember when we had too many trucks? I turned at Charlotte. Remember the Charlotte race? Remember that returning Charlotte race that Eric Jones was supposed to run? There was 47 trucks. Only 40, and somebody said they
That's
could
for
run.
the next question.
And do you want to know what somebody said? There could be 47 run. I'm like, there's not enough pit boxes for 47 trucks.
Right. But that leads to the next question, Justin. So, to hold your horses there. But qualifying, practice sessions, to remove them from the NASCAR schedule, if we're going to have like 40 make the grid flat out, just my opinion, I think we should see at least everyone get 1 on-track practice session, 1 qualifying session to determine the field. Make going fast a priority for all the races. It can be experimental. I get that. You know, the Cup Series, I think they're about to go like 30-some races without practice or qualifying at all, except for some of the big events like Daytona and the road courses.
The new tracks.
Oh,
like
the new tracks.
and the Coke 600. Like, yeah, it's also like there's like it's just like the Cup Series. We don't see many entries. Like the only time you see a lot of entries that there's DNQs is the Daytona 500. Some years, this year some races we did struggle to get 40. I remember in 2018 we were getting 37 cars. And the Xfinity, we're not getting that much Xfinity teams sometimes, but the Truck Series, there's randomly. Sometimes I've seen entry lists like 40 trucks for 32 spots where there's like 8 DNQs. Like, yeah, the Truck Series has always good entry list numbers and a lot of big names going home.
That's exactly what makes the Truck Series exciting.
Yeah.
Speaking of big races, the Snowball Derby is 2 weeks away from now. The entry list as of the 15th of November, so last Sunday.
Yep.
Because the entry list continues to grow. The entry list is pretty stacked. I'm excited to see here who we have. And so if you're unfamiliar with the Snowball Derby, it's a crown jewel short track race, a best of the best short track racing event that is held in Pensacola, Florida at the Five Flags Speedway.
Yep.
They call it the Snowball Derby because it's usually the time of year when NASCAR and all the big motorsports levels in America are finished around the end of November, beginning of December.
Yeah, and then we're all just like waiting, or watching other sports, or just this year it's kind of hard to do other things, so you're just waiting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So by looking at the entry list right now,
I see big names.
Let's hear 'em.
Like one of these big names that people remember and disappeared, kind of. Ross Kenseth in the number 3. The thing about Ross Kenseth, the last time I've seen him race, like professionally, was recently. Remember when he ran at Chicago, 2015 in the Xfinity Series for Joe Gibbs Racing? Other than that, It's been a while. I remember his win at Michigan for Ken Schrader Racing in the 52 car. Like, people just remember him doing that and then don't remember him after. But that's interesting. Ross Kenseth in the number 3. Chase Elliott in the 9.
Yes, Chase Elliott, who won the 2020 NASCAR Cup Series Championship, as well as I think he has won 3 times in the Snowball Derby. Actually 2 times. Well, 3 times before he got DQ'd, and I think it was the 2014 event.
Derek Kraus,
yeah. I was about to mention Chase Elliott, the youngest winner in Snowball Derby history.
Yep, Derek Kraus also entered. Yeah, Derek Kraus entered in his number 9. Carson Hocevar, who's moved up to the Truck Series for Nice next year in 2021. He'll be running in the number 14.
Let's see who else we have here.
Ooh, this is interesting. Caden Lapsevich. Wow.
This should be interesting.
I haven't heard Caden Lapsevich's name in a while.
It's the first time in a while.
Racing family.
Yeah, and he's running in his number 16 entry. Okay, Mason Diaz in the 24. Casey Roderick. I remember his one start for GMS at Iowa. Travis Braden, was it him that won last year? I think it was.
Yes, Travis Braden after Stephen Naste. Car failed tech inspection. The winner of the 2019 Snowball Derby led 0 laps in the race.
And he started 30th. He started 30th place.
That race was It was rained out. There was many cautions that followed the start of the race.
But we actually saw it because some nice person on Twitch streamed it. Okay, Chandler Smith in the 26S, which you expect Chandler Smith to be in a late model race. Just looking through. Daniel Dye, who's
ARCA driver.
Yep. Derek Thorne. I've heard.
Didn't he win a West Series champion?
Yes, he did. Yeah, he did for the Bob Brancati team.
Yes, I actually do remember when he won the title.
Rich Bickle.
How about Rich Bickle? I think I actually heard breaking news. I think Rich Bickle's not racing this year.
No, he is this year. He said his final run will be in 2021. Is his final Snowball Derby next year in 2021.
Rich Bickle, a long time driver from the Midwest and coming from Edgerton, Wisconsin. He won the Snowball Derby 5 times from 1990, 1991, 96, 98, and 99. So he won consecutively 2 times consecutively, and then 96. It's just incredible. He's won the Slinger Nationals 4 times.
Yeah. Also, Sammy Smith, who's a KBM development driver in the late model program. Stephen Nasse, almost winner of the last year's Snowball Derby, but got disqualified. Cole Butcher, who started on the pole for last year's race, sadly crashed out and finished last. Matt Craig, another solid driver.
Bubba Pollard.
Oh my!
I say Bubba Pollard.
Oh my!
Short track sensation.
Corey Heim, another ARCA driver, ARCA winner. Actually, I remembered he won an ARCA race.
I think he won the season closing event at Kansas.
Yeah, driving for a prepared car by Vanarini, but owned by Andy Hillenberg. Ty Majeski in the 91. Ty Majeski.
We know he'll be a factor.
He won the South Carolina 400, which that race, they made that race at Florence Speedway. That event used to be the Myrtle Beach 400, but because Myrtle Beach closed down, they brought it to Florence, and Tom Majeski did win this, and he's trying to win the Snowball Derby. He was close last year until he crashed out. RG Grill.
Veteran.
He is a veteran. Many starts in the Snowball Derby with the number 112. Yeah, it's an interest in Dalton Zur, the number 119. Big names in this entry list.
Absolutely. Will Chase Elliott get his 3rd Snowball Derby victory?
It's gonna be tough. It's
I think he could get a hat trick this year.
He could. It's just there's so many good cars, good drivers. It's just so competitive.
Yeah, the field is very competitive.
It's a competitive. Yeah, you have late model drivers, late model champions. It's gonna be a really competitive race.
I'm excited. That's next weekend. We'll make our predictions for that event.
Yeah,
when the time comes.
Yeah.
Additional news. Yes, Tony Kanaan. I forgot to mention, we were talking NASCAR this whole time, but as far as other motorsports are concerned, Juan Pablo Montoya, the 2-time Indy 500 champion, 1999 champion of IndyCar, will race LMP2 next year for Dragon Speed starting 2021 at the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona in January. He'll compete for the FIA World Endurance Championship in the LMP2 category for Dragon Speed as well. Tony Kanaan, the 2004 IndyCar champion from the Indy Racing League and the 2013 winner of the Indianapolis 500, will drive part-time for Chip Ganassi Racing next year. He'll be in the seat that Jimmy Johnson will share on the ovals, including the 2021 Indianapolis 500. How about that?
Whoa.
Tony Kanaan, who was supposed to retire this year, or at the end of this year. Kanaan, who has 17 career wins across the American open wheel racing map, was to have a farewell tour this year driving for AJ Foyt. Unfortunately, with the reality that we had, it wasn't the way he wanted to finish. And now Tony Kanaan gets a chance with to share a car with a driver who just finished a legendary NASCAR career.
Whoa.
To try again at the Indy 500.
Okay. I'm so confused.
What you watching, Justin?
No, I just saw an article on motorsport.com. DJR, Dick Johnson Racing may ditch their number 12 and renumber the 12 to the 11. That's possible. That they said they might be changing the number from 12 to 11 to be alongside the 17. That's really interesting. Yeah. Dick Johnson Racing announced they may switch the number to 12 from 12 to 11. That's interesting. I just saw that. Oh my gosh, I just saw another article that's kind of interesting. Verstappen said F1 2022 rules are not designed to stop Mercedes. Max said basically Mercedes is not going to be stopped by a rule change. That's
the only thing that can stop Mercedes might just be the other 18 drivers and the other 8 constructors on the Formula One grid.
well, those other constructors just have to have to work on their cars. But if Mercedes, even when Mercedes doesn't upgrade anything, Mercedes just randomly fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other news: Formula E will be broadcasted in the United States on CBS Sports.
Yep.
Beginning 2021, Formula E, when the Electric Racing Championship was created in 2014 until 2020, was all aired on Fox Sports.
Yep.
In America until, of course, 2021. They'll be on CBS starting next year.
Yeah, so hopefully people have if people try to get CBS Sports Network, because the only race on CBS is the New York E-Prix. All the other races is CBS Sports Network, except if you're in Canada, TSN shows all the races for Formula E in Canada. Yeah.
I'm missing something. Yes, Aston Martin and Mercedes will field safety cars for respective Formula One Grand Prix in 2021. Ryan Preece will stay at JTG Doherty Racing in 2021 for the NASCAR Cup Series. The New England short track star who won a NASCAR Modified Championship will remain on NASCAR's top level after a struggling 2020 season where he only picked up 3 top 10s this season out of 36 races. Ryan Preece has struggled but is given another chance to make a name for himself in the NASCAR Cup Series. Longtime NASCAR reporter Matt Yoakum announced his departure from Fox Sports. Matt Yoakum was part of the original Fox Sports NASCAR team in 2001, leaving Mike Joy, Larry McReynolds, and partially Chris Myers and Jeff Hammond. And
Chris Hammond. You could have said Chris Hammond and Jeff Myers. Wait, that's... But
I meant, yeah, as partial members of NASCAR and Fox from the original 2001 team.
Yeah, which, for me, I remember people were saying about people say that NBC's better, but for me, the thing about NBC's coverage is the camera is... The only thing that NBC does good is their camera angles. For me, it's just the commentators are like not serious sometimes at all. I feel like Fox. I feel like Fox is like more professional.
Yeah.
Mike Joy's commentary. Like
It's authentic in a
Yeah,
way.
yeah. Like Mike Joy is more like serious compared to Rick Allen, who
Rick Allen's a good commentator. Let's not get
it's
mistaken.
yeah,
Let's not get it twisted.
yeah, but it's just like if you did remember
Pairing.
it's like remember the 2020 finish at Kansas for the Xfinity Series. He couldn't say a word. He was struggling to say one little sentence. It's like
But at the same time, I mean, Dale
or
Earnhardt Jr.,
it's
Jeff Burton, Steve Letarte are
well, no, it's just
constantly completing each other's sentences, just like
yeah,
Darrell Waltrip
yeah, but it was
did
just
in the past.
it was just Rick Allen talking. It's like Hemrick. He kept saying Hemrick or Segan. It's like who is it?
What it is. I mean, commentators are great people. Let's understand that they have a pretty heavy job being the lead voice in NASCAR. It's unfortunate. Matt Yoakum was part of the original team, 2001, that called the Daytona 500. A race no one knew or no one expected at the time would have the most significant impact on the sport itself in the future, especially with the death of Dale Earnhardt and everything that happened in that Daytona 500. Mike Joy will continue another year working for Fox Sports. He's been with the team since 2001. In fact, his start with Fox Sports was actually with Formula One in 1998.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's my first time realizing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Formula One in 98 with the Fox Sports net coverage when they worked aligned with the Speed Vision, which before Fox bought out Speed, and then Speed Channel came, and you had to study Formula One on Speed lineup of Bob Varsha, David Hobbs, Steve Matson, Peter Windsor, and then later, what's his name? Replacing Peter Windsor. Well, Will Buxton. Lee Diffie would fill in here and there, but Mike Joy was actually one of the first commentators to be on the Fox side of U.S. broadcasting in 98.
Yeah, I also remember about that one time. Remember when Mike Joy and Darrell Waltrip were commentating for Speed for the Bathurst 1000 in 2011?
That was cool.
I just remembered that from watching a clip of it.
Yes.
I remember I was hearing about them commentating it.
A race where Garth Tander and Nick Perkett won, fighting off a feisty Craig Lowndes.
Man.
Speaking of commentary, congratulations, Alex Jacques. He'll be the lead commentator for Channel 4 F1 in 2021, the alternative feed for people in the UK to watch Formula One coverage. Jacques has replaced Ben Edwards, the longtime lead commentator who called British motorsport from BTCC, IndyCar, you name it. He's been there, Ben Edwards, but now the seat will be given to Alex Jacques next year.
Yeah, and also congrats to Jamie Little for being the main commentator for the Truck Series, right?
ARCA Series.
ARCA Series
on Fox,
ARCA Series on Fox.
Yeah, that's really good.
It's a very big step now.
Big deal.
Yep.
She becomes the first woman in American motorsports to have a lead commentary role.
Yeah.
Very big deal. And on top of that, silly season will continue. I want to ask again, John Hunter Nemechek going to the Truck Series. The way people on social media have perceived this, they're acting like the end of John Hunter's career is here.
I think it's because people say that Kyle Busch ruins people's careers. I don't know. It's like
no, I'm talking about John Hunter making this decision himself.
Yeah, but people are saying that because he's in this truck team that it's the end of his career. It's not the end.
Do something spectacularly.
By the way,
like I don't get why people talk like that.
People say it's the end of his
It's
career.
so horrendous.
People say it's the end of his career. He's born in 1997 here. 1997. He's 23. He's 23 years old. A 23-year-old could get back up to the Cup Series. He's not Harry Gant, who's in his 50s.
Listen.
I'm just
a
saying.
driver can choose to stay in Cup, or they can go back, do some more years of being a part-time Cup driver while competing for a series championship in Kyle Busch Motorsports equipment. That is factory Toyota right there. He's got a fast truck. When John Hunter raced in the Truck Series, all 6 of his victories were for the family-owned team. Nothing against Nemco Motorsports here, but they weren't really meant to run a full season in the situations they were in. Economically, they had a hard time, but they make ends meet for John Hunter. John Hunter Nemec had brought 8th place finishes for Nemco twice in 2016 and 17.
Yeah, like in 2000,
2021 will be a big year for John Hunter. I think he'll prevail.
Yeah, I feel like John Hunter will do good compared to. I don't know who his teammate is, his full-time teammate. Eckes has not been confirmed yet by Kyle Busch Motorsports, but we know Kyle's going to be running 5. I almost put 2 fingers. 5 truck races in the 51 next year.
Just wait. Especially the Truck Series. The Truck Series rosters aren't really confirmed. Some teams don't even confirm their stay for the 22 race season until Daytona, the week of Daytona. We'll run Daytona. Yeah. We'll run, let's say, Vegas or whatever round 2 is next year.
It's a Homestead.
Homestead in the next 3 races, and we'll see how this goes.
Yeah.
Either you stay or you go.
Or it's like CMI who said, we're going to be gone. They're back. It's like nobody expected that. I remember hearing that the 49 is full-time. Then the 83 will be part-time with Ray Cicerelli, which nobody thought they would be back. I don't know why they
honestly, you don't. I mean, in the end, they have they have the ball in their court. You stay or you leave. Ray said himself, I am leaving NASCAR because of this and that. And then all of a sudden,
they're back.
I guess maybe he learned next time, just keep your mouth shut. Yeah, if you want to stay in NASCAR, just go with the flow.
Yeah, because CMI Motorsports Twitter said, we're not done. We're back in 2021, and a lot of fans are like, I thought you said you were going to be gone. But nope, they somehow came back.
I just want to end that topic right here. That I think is obviously the route, just a bad route to take. I mean, I guess that is what it is. There is a case of a driver who still will say yes to this question. If you win 100 times in this level, you will retire, correct? Yes, his name is Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch could win 3 times in 2021 and call it quits in Xfinity.
Yeah, because he's running 5 races. That's the limit. If he wins 3 of them, he's out of the series. Because he said he'll retire when he gets 100. He's at 97. Needs 3 more. Yep, needs 3 more.
Something funny. A prediction many fans made around 2016, 2017 was this. Kyle Busch would get 100 wins in Xfinity before his 200th win across all 3 series.
That didn't work out.
Nope, he won 200 overall in California Speed Auto Club Speedway in Fontana, California last year.
Yeah, and this year got 1 win at Texas. Last year was better.
3 trucks.
Yeah, and Xfinity he won at Charlotte. That Charlotte race, but then Texas he got DQ'd, but he won Charlotte, which I remember. Oh my gosh, Charlotte was so interesting. Remember when Kyle Busch pitted with 40 to go Austin said yesterday because Kyle Busch won't win because Chase didn't win because he pitted, but that was with 2 to go. There was 40 to go. Kyle Busch pitted, and Kyle Busch obviously won.
Right.
Yeah.
If you're new to watching sports car racing, especially IMSA, and I'm talking about you bored NASCAR fans who for some reason don't like IndyCar, so you just watch IMSA and not know anything about sports cars, but it's IMSA.
Yeah.
Not trying to mock you here, but LMP2,
It's good to-
3 cars.
Yeah.
It's good to call them out. But
We're going to have dozens of them.
Oh, yeah.
Most likely at the Daytona race in January for the Rolex 24.
Yeah.
I told you many times. Okay, only 3 LMP2s this weekend. We'll see more next year.
Yeah, because there was except Laguna Seca only had 1 LMP2, the 52, which that pure one Matheson car. Most of the I guess I just actually this is that's the only team LMP2 team to run every race that LMP2's in was yeah, they're the only ones that ran full time, which was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they were the only one. The 51 only ran the final couple races. The 38 ran some races, and the 18 and the 81 ran one race. So yeah.
All right. With that said, I think this is a good closing point for the podcast. And
yeah,
next week we'll make our predictions for the Snowball Derby. We'll recap the first of 2 races held at Bahrain, the Bahrain Grand Prix this upcoming weekend, the Sakir Grand Prix at the outer circuit layout in Bahrain next weekend. Formula 2 might have a champion by the time we come back, depending on the situation.
Yeah.
Whether Mick Schumacher can beat the rest of the field and win the F2 championship. The final Super GT race is this year. I completely forgot to mention that. The 8th and final round at Fuji for the 300-kilometer event for Super GT. Unfortunately, many teams and drivers had to miss Japan's highest competition of sports car racing. But like in most series, they'll be back in full swing next year. So will NASCAR, so will F1.
Yeah, and fans that are bored that there's no NASCAR races, which there is 83 days till the Daytona 500. Tomorrow, 82. The reason I know that is there's people on Facebook in a group chat, they always post pictures of a car with the numbers. So today I posted the Brian Vickers' number 83 car.
Right.
Yeah, that's how I know how many days. Or the people that post a picture that said there was his wife saying, count how many days till Christmas, dear, and then the husband says no, counting to know how many days till the Daytona.
Meme has been around for
oh my gosh, it's just
since the dawn of the internet.
And yeah, people are still using that. Yeah.
All right. We'll see you guys next week for episode 87. Make sure to like and share it.
Yep.
Share the podcast, share the video. Subscribe to us. I don't think anyone should know how to do that by now. Let's get 200. We're at 187 last time I checked. We're less than 15 subscribers away from 200. We're like 13 now. We'll get there.
And also share the video. Get people else to watch our video. Get people to watch our podcast.
Yeah, it helps with the view counts.
Absolutely. All right. For Danny and Justin, I'm Joe signing off. Have a good